Welcome along to Obsession Engineering. The keen-eyed amongst you might notice I'm not in a workshop with the CB500. I am out in the real world, and that must mean it's time for a test ride. So the CB500, or as I like to know it, the Cancer Beater, has been MOT'd and is now on the road. Well, it's on somebody else's gravel driveway at the moment, but that's a minor detail. The reason it's called the Cancer Beater is because on June the 21st, the longest day of the year, along with 30 odd other complete idiots, this bike, and me sat on it, are going to ride from Land's End to John O'Groats in a day without using motorways. And everybody has a bike that's worth, well, £600 or slightly less. So it is a challenge, and it is in aid of Cancer Research UK, so I'll put a link in the corner. Give me some money and make this really worthwhile. Right, enough chit chat though. Time to get this off whoever's gravel driveway this is and actually go and ride around on it. Out on the open road on the Cancer Beater, and there's a couple of points to note straight away. That mirror is currently held on with silicone sealant, so it's not very good because it doesn't point anywhere useful. Because on my driveway yesterday afternoon, which is on a bit of a slope, the bike fell over onto my van. I mean, the mirror is a minor inconvenience. The dent in the side of my van is a big annoyance, but there you go. That's life sometimes. It doesn't always go smoothly, does it? Right, another slight issue with the CB. If I look down here, I haven't finished attaching the fairing properly because I'm going to have to trim it down because my knee hits the fairing, which is quite annoying, if I'm honest. So, mirror's broken. I don't fit with the fairing on the bike. Other than that, we're doing okay. I rode it in the dark last night. The heated grips worked perfectly. The Chinese headlights, like spotlights that are down here that were £20, if I'm honest, there's barely £20 worth of light comes out of them. They're better than nothing, but really quite crap. So I'm not sure whether they will have an upgrade yet or not. Right, while we're pootling slowly through a village, what I have noticed is you can go through villages in, that's first gear. You can ride through a village in second gear and it's a bit revvy. We'll just get around this corner. Over bumps mid-corner, it's a little, I think crashy is the term. So, yes, 30 mile an hour, second gear, quite revvy, but it'll do it. Third gear is quite civilised. Fourth gear at 30 mile an hour is actually quite manageable. Fifth gear, 30 mile an hour, it's quite smooth, it's doing 2,500 RPM. Sixth gear, 30 mile an hour, a little grumbly, but it will do it. So there's a bonus. Doesn't really matter which gear you're in. We'll go for third. Through a village at 30 mile an hour, it will do 30 mile an hour in every gear. That is a step better than we got out of the DeVille last time I did the challenge, which struggled to do 30 mile an hour at all. The engine, 500cc parallel twin of Honda's finest 90s technology. But watch this, second gear. It's quite revvy, this thing. You see, up to 60, that's actually quite punchy for a little 500. Actually quite impressed with that. The only game is, because it's really good round town and in villages at 30 mile an hour you could use any gear. When you're out doing 60, it's beginning to rev a bit. When you do motorway speeds, it's quite busy, so I might put a bigger front sprocket on if there's room. Right, braking for a 30 limit and whee! Right, the Aprilia Tuono master cylinder I put on it to pair up with the Brembo caliper. We'll avoid the worst of potholes there. To, yes, complement the standard fitment Brembo caliper and the new braided brake hoses. Front brake's pretty good. I don't think this bike's that heavy, or if it is, it hides it well. So the engine's quite perky, the brakes are really quite sharp. They're certainly
better than the front forks. So yes, going and stopping, this thing's not so bad. So, general running gear. The clutch works absolutely fine. The gearbox is slick as you'd expect from a well-engineered 90s Honda. And the controls are light, the brakes work, the back brake works, all the electrics work because it's a Honda. When I was riding it last night with the heated grips on, I didn't melt the wiring, so that was a bonus, and they kept my hands warm. And yeah, even my cheap Chinese spotlights work. I mean, they don't work well, but they do work. Which of course makes an interesting point of all the bits that work absolutely perfectly 28 years later were made by Honda. All the bits that aren't so good, the fairing that doesn't fit with me on it, the belly pan when it was on that you couldn't even check the oil with, the crap headlights and stuff, they're all bits that have been fitted afterwards. So I think we're learning here, don't fiddle with what Honda makes because they know best. Right, out the next village, give her some revs. She likes to rev and throw it at a corner. Let's talk chassis dynamics and handling. So, this is basic suspension from the 90s, and it is soft and quite wallowy, and yet if you throw it anywhere near a bump, the forks especially are quite crashy. There is no culture at all to the damping, so relatively comfortable. The suspension could definitely be better. Kind of fun almost because it sort of bounces around and across the road, so as long as you're not heading towards oncoming traffic on the wrong side of the road, it's sort of fun, really. At least that's what I'll keep telling myself until it bounces me onto the wrong side of the road into oncoming traffic, and then we might call it something different. Yes, decent brake that. Yep, first gear short. Good revvy little engine that. Really quite impressed with this. I can kind of see why people race these because they are going to be quite good fun. Open long stretch of road in front of me. So let's talk riding comfort, because I'm going to be sat on this for 20, 24, maybe 25 hours in a single day. Day and a bit if it's 25 hours. And riding comfort is going to be important. And if I'm honest, it's not a very big motorbike. The seat is really quite low, and the padding has this sort of sculpted shape to it, which actually really means that when you sit in it, the padding sinks a little bit, and the padding at the front sort of cups my testes a bit, if I'm honest. And after about a minute, that's not that comfortable. So I'm going to add some seat foam to it to give me a little bit more leg room, get my hips at a slightly more friendly angle, and save my testicles, because I quite like them. They're my friends. Other than the testicle hugging seat, it is actually pretty comfy. Sort of handlebars are in a nice position. The fairing, as awful as it looks, that screen's actually flicking quite a lot of air out the way. So I'm sort of sat here in a relatively calm bubble of air. So yeah, it's not bad at all, this thing, for comfort. Don't get me wrong, once I've raised the seat up, then I'll be sat up here somewhere, and then the screen's not doing very much. So when I add the seat foam, I might add a screen extension as well. I think that'll help. And I have just realised that the midges are going straight onto my visor, which, having ridden in Scotland in an evening before, tells me that if the midges are hitting my visor now, they're definitely going to be hitting my visor up in Scotland when we get off the Dunoon ferry. So yeah, taller screen needed, taller seat needed, mirror that I can see something out of needed, the fairing to fit so I can actually squeeze on the bike needed. So yes, I'm quite impressed with this little thing, but it's a long way from perfect.
So I've pulled over to, I suppose, do a bit of a conclusion on the little Honda. We've done 45 odd mile now, and I am confident that that little Honda can do the miles that I need it to do on the longest day of the year. And remember, we're doing those long miles for Cancer Research UK. And that brings me, I suppose, to another reason I wanted to do this challenge. And that reason, obviously, is that cancer sucks. So, in my own life, I've been lucky enough that I've not had cancer. My granddad on my mum's side died of cancer. My dad's sister, my aunt, died of cancer. But the list of people we know as we get older, of course, grows longer and longer. And this year, I am going to dedicate my ride on the longest day of the year to my friend Mandy. So Mandy was one of my best friend Sam's grandma, and Mandy was diagnosed with cancer a few years ago, and she underwent quite a lot of treatment, and she got 5-6 years with her granddaughters, who she was very close with, that without the work of people like Cancer Research UK, she wouldn't have got that time with her family and with her friends. And my friend Sam and her sister Emily and their other cousins and that, they wouldn't have got time with their grandma, and they were a very close family. And so sadly Mandy passed away a couple of weeks ago, and so I'm going to dedicate me riding that to raise money. I'm going to dedicate that to Mandy, because she was an exceptional woman. When I first met her, you do the usual thing where you go, she's just a grandma like everybody else's grandma. You know, she will have grown up in a generation where women normally stayed at home and normally, you know, raised a family and did that sort of stuff. But Mandy was a bit different. She'd been at home and she'd raised a family. When she got the opportunity, she also travelled a lot of the world, and she wanted to experience stuff herself. She went to work, she wanted her independence, and this sort of drive for life that she had was really quite contagious, and that's really rubbed off on my friend Sam and her sister, because they spent a lot of their time growing up with the grandma, and they are strong, independent women, and they have this real drive for life that Mandy instilled in them. And if cancer had got her when it first got to her, she wouldn't have been able to pass on anywhere near the knowledge and the drive for life that she was able to pass on. And she was an inspirational character. She was interesting and exciting to be around, and involving, and just a brilliant human being. And I'm pleased I got to spend time with her. I know Sam and Emily, they've obviously now lost their grandma, but the lessons in life they got from Mandy will be with them forever. And so I'm going to ride that bike from Land's End to John O'Groats. I have confidence in the bike. I'm less confident in my hips and my back and my neck and my wrists and my attention span, and I know this is a challenge. I've done it before, but I know it's difficult, because it's not supposed to be easy, because the best things in life aren't supposed to be easy. But we should push ourselves the way that I know Mandy pushed herself. She went outside her comfort zone, she did things that were brilliant, and as a result of that, it gave her grandkids such a brilliant step in life. And so if you've lost somebody to cancer, if you know somebody who's been affected by cancer, if you've had cancer, you will know how much this disease sucks. So please, please, please click on the link. Give us money. We are raising money to fight cancer. It is the most worthy cause, surely. So please, give us money, and then laugh at me while I'm suffering about halfway into Scotland on a very long day. Thanks for watching. Keep tuned for more action with the cancer beater. More importantly, give us money. We're fighting a good fight.